All right, listeners, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into a sense you use every single day but probably never give a second thought to.
Interception.
Exactly.
Okay.
Interoception. We're going to explore how your body talks to your brain and how tuning into those signals can be a total game changer for your well-being.
It really is a fascinating thing, isn't it? We're so used to focusing on the external senses, like sight, sound, touch, that we kind of overlook this whole world of internal sensations that's constantly shaping our experiences.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just start with the basics, okay? What exactly is interoception?
Well, essentially, it's your brain's way of knowing what's going on inside your body.
Okay.
It's the sense that allows you to feel your heartbeat, your breath, whether you're hungry or thirsty, need to use the restroom, all those internal signals that help keep us alive and functioning.
So it's more than just like feeling your heartbeat.
Much more. It encompasses a whole range of sensations from your organs, muscles, even your bones. Think about the feeling of a full bladder, the subtle cues that tell you when you're getting sick, or that air hunger sensation when you need to take a deep breath.
It really is like our bodies are constantly whispering to us, and most of the time we're not even listening.
Exactly. And learning to listen to those whispers can be incredibly beneficial.
I bet.
But before we get into the practical stuff, I think it would be good to take a quick trip back in time to understand how this system even evolved.
Okay, a little evolutionary history lesson. I'm all for it. So how did interoception develop in the first place?
Well, imagine like the earliest organisms. Their survival really just depended on being able to sense and respond to changes in their internal environment, right?
Right.
So if their temperature got too high or their energy levels dipped too low, they needed a way to detect those changes and take action to survive.
So it was all about survival of the fittest, and like being in tune with your internal state gave you an edge.
Exactly. The organisms that were best at sensing and responding to those internal signals were more likely to survive and pass on their genes.
So basically, we can thank our ancestors who were really good at feeling their gut, literally, for this incredible sense we have today.
You could say that. And what's even more amazing is that this ancient sense, which evolved for basic survival, plays a huge role in our modern lives in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
Okay, now I'm really curious. So how did this sense that was all about survival end up shaping our emotions and influencing things like decision-making? That seems like a pretty big leap.
It is, and to really understand that connection, I think we need to delve into how interoception is so closely linked with our autonomic nervous system, the system that controls those automatic functions like breathing, heart rate, and digestion.
Okay, let's unpack that.
So the autonomic nervous system is constantly working behind the scenes to keep your body in balance, a state called homeostasis, right? And it does this by receiving signals from your internal organs and adjusting things like your heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing to maintain stability.
So it's like this master conductor constantly fine-tuning things to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Perfect analogy. And here's where interoception comes in, those signals from your internal organs, the ones that are constantly feeding information to the autonomic nervous system. They're also being sent to your brain.
So my brain is getting this like constant stream of data about what's happening inside my body.
Exactly. And this data isn't just like neutral information. It's being processed and interpreted by your brain to create feelings and sensations that we experience as hunger, thirst, fatigue, excitement, even anxiety.
Wait, so you're telling me that like my feelings, my emotions are actually rooted in these signals from my internal organs?
That's right. It's all interconnected.
Wow.
And the more we understand this connection, the better equipped we are to manage our emotions, make better decisions, and live more fulfilling lives.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this is all coming together, but I have to admit, thinking of my emotions as being like tied to my internal organs is a little mind-blowing.
I agree.
So how did scientists even figure this out? Was it all thanks to Dr. Craig?
Dr. Craig's work has been groundbreaking, but he definitely wasn't the first to explore these connections. In fact, the idea that our internal state influences our emotions has been around for centuries. But Dr. Craig's research, particularly his work on mapping the brain regions involved in interoception, has provided much more specific insights into how this all works.
Okay, so there's a specific part of my brain dedicated to processing these internal signals.
There is. It's called the insular cortex, and it's located deep within the folds of your brain.
Okay.
And what's really fascinating is that this area doesn't just receive input from your internal organs, it also receives input from other parts of your brain that are involved in processing emotions, memories, and and even social cues.
So it's like a central hub where all this information comes together to like create our experience of the world.
Exactly. And this is where things start to get really interesting because Dr. Craig's research suggests that the insular cortex isn't just passively processing information, it's actively shaping our perception of the world and ourselves.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. So tell me more about how this all works and like what it means for us in our everyday lives.
Well, let's start by exploring something called interoceptive awareness, which is essentially the ability to accurately perceive and interpret those internal signals we've been talking about.
So it's like being able to recognize the difference between feeling hungry and feeling stressed, or understanding why your heart is racing.
Precisely. And this awareness isn't just about labeling sensations, it's about understanding their nuances, their impact on your thoughts, emotions, and actions.
This is starting to sound like a superpower. But is everyone equally good at this? Or is it something you can learn and improve?
That's a great question, and one we'll dive into next.
Awesome.
The good news is that just like any sense, interoception can be trained and refined, and the benefits of doing so are vast.
All right, listener. If you're ready to unlock your inner superhero and discover the incredible power of your interoceptive sense, stay tuned because things are about to get really exciting.
So let's dive into this whole idea of interoceptive awareness.
Okay.
It's essentially the ability to accurately perceive and interpret those internal signals we were discussing.
Gotcha.
Like, think of it like tuning into your body's own personal radio station.
Okay, I like that analogy, but wouldn't that be a pretty chaotic station with all sorts of signals coming in at once?
It can be.
How do we even begin to like make sense of it all?
That's where practice comes in.
Okay.
Just like you wouldn't expect to become a concert pianist overnight, you know?
Right.
Developing interoceptive awareness takes time and attention.
So it's not like we're all born with perfect reception on this body radio station.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Some people are naturally more attuned to their internal signals than others, but the good news is that anyone can improve their interoceptive awareness with practice.
All right, that's encouraging. But before we get into how to actually do that, can you give me some examples of what good interoceptive awareness actually looks like? Like, what are the benefits?
Sure. Imagine you're in like a stressful situation.
Okay.
Your heart rate might increase, your palms might sweat, your breath might become shallow.
Yeah.
Someone with good interoceptive awareness would notice these subtle changes in their body and recognize them as signs of stress.
So it's not just about feeling the sensations, it's about understanding what they mean.
Exactly. And this awareness can be so powerful.
I bet.
It allows you to take steps to manage your stress response before it spirals out of control.
Okay, so better stress management. I'm already seeing the value here.
Definitely.
Are there other benefits?
Oh, yeah.
I know our sources mentioned something about decision making.
Right. Many of our decisions, especially those involving risk or personal values, are influenced by our gut feeling.
Oh, for sure.
But those gut feelings are often rooted in interoceptive signals.
So if you're good at tuning into those signals, you're essentially tapping into like a deeper level of intuition.
Exactly.
Wow.
Research has shown that people who are more aware of their internal signals, particularly their heartbeat, tend to make more advantageous decisions, especially in complex situations.
Wow. So it's not just about feeling good. It can actually help you make smarter choices. This is amazing. Is there anything interoception doesn't influence?
Well, it might not solve all of life's problems,
Wait.
but it does seem to have a pretty wide-reaching impact.
Yeah.
For instance, there's a fascinating connection between interoceptive awareness and our perception of time.
Wait, what? How is that even possible?
Well, it seems that our internal sensations, particularly those rhythmic ones like our heartbeat, provide a sort of internal clock that helps us track the passage of time. Studies have shown that people with greater interoceptive awareness have a more accurate sense of time, particularly in that range of like a few seconds to a minute.
Okay, now that is trippy. So it's like my heartbeat is actually shaping how I experience time.
It's a very fascinating area of research, and it just highlights how deeply intertwined our internal sensations are with our overall experience of the world.
I am officially convinced that this interoceptive awareness thing is something I need to work on.
Me too.
So, spill the beans. How can we actually improve our ability to tune in to these signals?
Well, mindfulness meditation is a great place to start.
Okay.
It encourages you to pay attention to your breath, your body sensations, and thoughts without judgment, which helps you become more aware of those subtle internal cues.
So it's not just about emptying your mind. It's about actually paying attention to what's happening inside.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there are other practices that can help as well, like yoga and tai chi, which combine movement with focused attention on breath and body awareness.
So moving our bodies can help us tune into our inner world.
It can. And even something as simple as taking a few moments each day to just focus on your breath, noticing the rise and fall of your chest, the feeling of air entering and leaving your nostrils that can make a difference.
Okay, I'm starting to get the sense that this is all about paying attention.
It is.
But I have to admit, sometimes when I try to focus on my body, like my mind just wanders off to my to-do list or what I'm going to have for dinner.
Sure.
Any tips for staying focused?
That's totally normal. The key is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and non-judgment.
Okay.
If you find your mind wandering, just gently bring your attention back to your breath or whatever sensation you're focusing on.
So it's not about forcing anything, it's about gentle guidance.
Exactly.
Oh.
And over time, with consistent practice, you'll find that it becomes easier to tune into those subtle signals and understand what they're telling you.
This is starting to sound less like a superpower and more like a skill we can all develop.
Absolutely.
That's great. And as we delve deeper into Dr. Craig's research, we'll see just how much potential this skill has to transform our lives. All right, so we've talked about how paying attention to our inner world can help us manage stress better, make better decisions, and even, fine-tune our perception of time. But our sources hint at something even more profound, a connection between interoception and our very sense of self.
This is where things get really fascinating.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what creates that feeling of mean? What makes you feel like you in your own body?
It's a question I think we all kind of ponder at some point, right? Like, what makes me, me?
Exactly. And Dr. Craig's research suggests that interoception plays a key role in this.
Okay.
To understand how, I think we need to delve into a concept called the body schema.
All right. Lay it on me. What's a body schema?
Well, imagine your brain has this incredible internal GPS system for your body.
Okay.
It's constantly tracking where your limbs are in space, how your muscles are moving, even how your internal organs are feeling.
Okay.
That's your body schema.
So it's like an internal blueprint of my physical form constantly being updated based on what I feel, both inside and out.
Precisely. And here's the key connection, that brain region we talked about, the insular cortex, the one that processes all those interoceptive signals. It seems to play a crucial role in integrating those signals into our body schema.
So it's not just about feeling a sensation, it's about like weaving that feeling into our very sense of embodiment.
That's the idea.
Wow.
Our sources actually highlight a really cool study that demonstrates this connection using something called the rubber hand illusion.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. You like trick your brain into thinking a fake hand is actually yours, right?
Right.
How does that relate to interoception, though?
Well, in this study, they used brain imaging to see what happens in the brain during the illusion, and guess what? When people experienced the illusion, they showed increased activity in the insular cortex, particularly the part that processes touch and body awareness.
So even though it was a fake hand, their brain was starting to incorporate it into their body schema, and that involved processing interoceptive signals too.
Exactly. It's like the brain was saying, okay, I'm getting touch signals from this hand, and it's positioned where my hand would be, so it must be mine.
That's wild. So this illusion is actually revealing something really profound about how our brains create our sense of self and how interoception is a key part of that process.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, what happens when this process doesn't work quite right? Could disruptions in the way the insular cortex processes interoceptive signals contribute to a distorted sense of self or even feelings of disembodiment?
That's a really deep question. Are there any answers yet?
It's an area of ongoing research, but it's definitely a fascinating possibility.
Yeah.
Think about conditions like body image disorders or certain mental health conditions where people feel disconnected from their bodies or emotions.
Right.
Could those experiences be related to how their brains are processing interoceptive information?
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
So we can learn to fine-tune our interoceptive awareness. Could that potentially have like a positive impact on these types of conditions?
That's the hope. Some researchers believe that therapies that target interoceptive awareness, like mindfulness-based therapies, could help people develop a healthier, more integrated sense of self.
It's incredible to think that by becoming more aware of our internal sensations, we might actually be able to influence our very sense of who we are.
Absolutely. It really highlights the interconnectedness of our mind and body, and how this often overlooked sense, interoception, plays a much bigger role than we ever imagined.
Well, listener, we've covered a lot of ground today. From the evolutionary roots of interoception to its influence on our emotions, decisions, perception of time, and even our sense of self, it's clear that this is a sense worth paying attention to.
It is.
And as always, we want to leave you with something to ponder.
What stood out to you most from our deep dive today? What new insights are you taking away? And perhaps most importantly, how might you apply this knowledge to your own life?
Maybe start by simply noticing those subtle internal cues, your breath, your heartbeat, the gentle rise and fall of your chest as you breathe.
Those are the whispers of your inner world, just waiting to be heard.
So tune in, listen closely, and see what you discover. You might be surprised at what you find.
You might.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of interoception. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep listening to the whispers of your own amazing body.